The Darklords are a collection of dark fairy monsters whose archetypal gimmick is that due to their high levels, they prefer to be sent to the graveyard in order to be special summoned back to the field. This gimmick is a clever metaphor for the deck's inspiration, as the archetype is known in the Japanese as the fallen angels, meaning many of the monsters take from Judeo-Christian mythology. And as such, the fact that the monsters are discarded, or should we say fall from the hand, aka heaven, is symbolic of how in the mythology, fallen angels are those cast out of heaven for committing sins. In fact, nearly every member of the archetype is based on some sort of figure in Judeo-Christian mythology, or take from some other religious symbols as well. The first members of the archetype were released in 2003's Labyrinth of Nightmare, with Darklord Marie. The next was released as a promotional card in 2007's Yu-Gi-Oh! GX Tag Force Evolution, with Darklord Nurse Reficule. However, technically, it actually wasn't, as these two cards would retroactively become a part of the archetype by having their original names of Marie the Fallen One and Nurse Reficule the Fallen One by having Darklord slapped onto their name. This was once True Support was actually released for the series, which was in 2016's Destiny Soldiers. This archetype has only ever made small appearances in the anime. She was used by both Rebecca Hawkins as well Serenity Wheeler, and then by Fonda Fontaine in the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX series. However, in these two cases, it was before the Darklords had truly manifested. If you wanted to see a true full use of the archetype, we need to turn to the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX manga instead. There, they were used by a character called Midori Hibiki, who was the older sister to a character called Kuyo Hibiki. Who's he? Some of you might be asking. Well, interestingly, in the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX manga, he is a pro duelist who is the one originally responsible for giving Jaden his elemental heroes. I actually have a whole video on this. Check it out if you want to know more about it. Regardless, now that we know a little bit more about the Darklords, how about we take a look at each one of the cards, see which fallen angel and concept they draw inspiration from, starting with the weakest of them all. Darklord Ukabak, known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel Ukabak. His effect is, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can send one Darklord card from your deck to the graveyard. You can only use the effect of Darklord Ukabak once per turn. The lowest leveled and weakest of the Darklords, and fittingly so, Ukabak is based on a demon of a lower order than all of the others, referred to by the almost identical name of Ukobach. If we look at the Darklords as if they were video game characters and things, then all of the other Darklords would be represented as like bosses in the game. For example, in a game like Dante's Inferno, for example. So Ukabach, well, he most likely would be a little tiny minion in the game that you would fight way before reaching the final bosses. In fact, reading into the demon's lore, it's revealed that Ukabak was the one in charge of keeping the oil in the infernal boilers alight. Yeah, that doesn't sound like the most high priority job in hell. Although, do keep in mind that those boilers are made from the blood of the damned, so yeah, that's pretty dark. Darklord Nurse Reficule, originally known as Nurse Reficule the Fallen One, and known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel Nurse Reficule. Her effect is any effect that would make your opponent gain life points inflicts the same amount of damage to them instead. It's worth mentioning that this monster was censored for international release by reducing the size of this monster's breasts. As well, they also shortened the length of her skirt. This was done in order to avoid any sexual suggestions. However, she's wrapped in like 90% bandages anyway. Even her shoes are bandaged. I just want to point that out. So what are people gonna see? Looking more so at this monster's original Japanese name of Reficule, we can see that if it is read backwards, it actually spells out Lucifer. The name Lucifer is of course synonymous with the devil himself, as in the Judeo-Christian lore, Lucifer originally was an angel. However, through pride and jealousy, he desired the position of God himself. For this act, he was cast out of heaven. Interestingly as well, Lucifer is also the name of the morning star, aka the planet Venus. Also, I'm just going to throw this out there, Nurse Reficule's effect is called Anti-Cure in both the dub and sub of the anime. If we think of Christian themes in regards to this name of Anti-Cure, what does Anti-Cure almost sound like? Antichrist, maybe? Coincidence? Probably. Darklord Marie, originally known as Marie the Fallen One and known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel Marie. Her effect is once per turn during your standby phase, you gain 200 life points. This card must be in the graveyard to activate and to resolve this effect. Just before we jump into her inspiration, I want to address the elephant in the room. And that is the fact that this monster has the audacity to be the only Darklord monster out of the whole archetype that is not a fairy type monster. Obviously, the reason this happened is due to the errata, since it was not created as a Darklord originally. However, if you're going to go through the effort of errataing a card to make it a part of an archetype later, and then as well, you're even going to take the time to censor her artwork for the international release by removing the horns and the upside down crosses on her, surely just this once you could errata this monster's typing as well to match the rest. And that could have been a really cool fact for this video. The first errated typed monster in Yu-Gi-Oh! However, that's not the case, so oh well. In terms of this monster's name, it reveals that she is most likely based on a regular human from Christian lore, a woman known as the Virgin Mary, who, in the mythology, was the woman that would give birth to the Son of God, Jesus Christ. Darklord Ede Array, known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel Ede Array. His effect is, if this card is special summoned from the graveyard, it gains this effect. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. Darklord Ede Array derives his name from the Latin word era, which translates to wrath. Wrath is of course one of the 7 deadly sins in Christianity. The wrath sin is to have a strong hate towards another person. In the Bible it states, never avenge yourself, but leave it to the wrath of God. For it is written, vengeance is mine. I will repay, says the Lord. Now, each of the 7 deadly sins also has an accompanying cure. For wrath, the cure is patience. Patience is the act to take the time to understand the desires of another before acting yourself. Darklord Amdusk, known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel Amdusius. His effect is you can discard this card and 1 Darklord card, then target 1 Darklord card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. During either player's turn, you can pay 1,000 life points, then target 1 Darklord spell or trap in your graveyard, apply that target's effects, then shuffle that target into the deck. You can only use the effect of Darklord Amdusk once per turn. You can only special summon Darklord Amdusk once per turn. We see a glimpse of this monster before its actual fall into darkness in the card Banishment of the Darklords. However, Amdusk derives his name from the demon of the same name, Amdusius, typically depicted as a clawed human with the head of a unicorn. Though this monster is not a unicorn-headed man, it is a full-on mythological unicorn. It is said that this demon is in charge of all music that is played in hell. It does make you wonder though what the ambient music of hell is. It must be something like truly horrific. Wait, what the hell is that? No! No! Darklord Naston, known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel Mastema. His effect is you can discard 2 of a Darklord card, special summon this card from your hand. Quick effect, you can pay 1,000 life points, then target 1 Darklord spell or trap in your graveyard, apply that target's effect, then shuffle that target into the deck. You can only use the effect of Darklord Naston once per turn. You can only special summon Darklord Naston once per turn. This monster is derived from the fallen angel Mastema. Mastema was an angel who would punish evil. In fact, he went a little bit too far in his punishment as he started carrying out God himself's punishments on his own, eventually leading him to becoming a fallen angel. Through these actions as well, he would be given the title of Angel of Disaster, with his name in Hebrew meaning hatred. Ironically though, in the artwork of Sanctified Darklord, it almost looks as if this monster is begging for forgiveness from the god of the solemn cards. Darklord Asmodeus, known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel Asmodeus. His effect is he cannot be special summoned from the deck or graveyard. Once per turn, you can send 1 fairy type monster from your deck to the graveyard. If this card you control is destroyed and sent to your graveyard, special summon 1 Asmo token, fairy type Dark level 5, attack 1800, defense 1300, and 1 Deus token, fairy type Dark level 3, attack 1200, defense 1200. Asmo token cannot be destroyed by card effects. Deus token cannot be destroyed by battle. So Darklord Asmodeus is based on a demon of the same name bound to the Egyptian deserts. He is the demon that is in charge of lust, another of the 7 deadly sins. The lust sin is to have an overly strong, intense passion for something. In the Bible it states, flee also youthful lusts, but pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace. Self-control is the thing that cures lust, the act of taking control of one's own passion and turning that energy into good for others instead. It's worth mentioning that this monster's effect spawns two tokens, a Asmo and a Deus token. Asmo in Latin means thanks, while Deus means God. These tokens' name, attack, defense, and level are all determined by splitting up this monster's name, as if you add them all together, they recreate Asmo Deus's name, attack, defense, and level. Darklord Zerato, known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel Zerato. His effect is if you have 4 or more dark monsters with different names in your graveyard, you can tribute summon this card by tributing 1 dark monster. You can send 1 dark monster from your hand to the graveyard, destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Once per turn, during the end phase, if this effect was activated this turn, destroy this card. Darklord Zerato has a previous form in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game before his fall to darkness. He was known as Archlord Zerato, and before this, he was known as Warrior of Zera. Back then, his card lore read a wandering warrior who seeks the sanctuary where he can gain the power of the Archlords. To escape the temptation of evil fiends, he fights solo day by day. So looking at the journey of this monster's card art, it's clear that in the background of his artwork, Sanctuary in the Sky is in ruins. And this could be, if not entirely due to, but at the very least, partially because of Zerato's actions, making him responsible for the ruin of heaven, or as he says, Sanctuary. On a side note as well, the original Zera has a few potential futures depending on the action he takes on his journey. As we have the journey we just followed, where he goes to the Sanctuary in the Sky, he becomes the Angel of Zera, then evolves into Zeradeus, the Herald of Heaven, then becomes the Archlord Zerato, and finally his fall into Darklord Zerato. But what if he went to Pandemonium instead? Then he would become Mazira Deville. Or what about if he took the Zera Ritual? In that case, he would become Zera the Mat. Darklord Superbia, known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel Superbia. His effect is when this card is special summoned from the graveyard, you can target 1 fairy type monster in your graveyard, except Darklord Superbia, special summon that target. Darklord Superbia derives his name from the Latin word for pride, which is one of the 7 deadly sins. The pride sin is to have an excessive view of oneself without regard for others. In the Bible it states, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves. The cure for pride is humility, the act of removing their ego and boastfulness from a situation. Darklord Tezcatlipoca, known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel Tezcatlipoca. The Darklord monster you control will be destroyed by battle or card effect. You can discard this card instead. During either player's turn, you can pay 1000 life points, then target 1 Darklord spell or trap in your graveyard, apply that target's effect, then shuffle that target into the deck. You can only use the effect of Darklord Tezcatlipoca once per turn. You can only special summon Tezcatlipoca once per turn. This Darklord is derived from the main deity in Aztec religion, known by the same name as Tezcatlipoca. His name, though, translates to the smoking mirror in the native Nahuatl language. The smoking mirror itself could refer to an obsidian mirror. The deity himself is associated with the night sky. Among many other things, this monster's overall design takes almost exactly from the deity's design, having a similar feather headdress, black bands that cover his face, which only reveal his eyes, as well as wings on his back. Darklord Desire, known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel Desire. His effect is he cannot be special summoned. You can tribute summon this card by tributing 1 fairy type monster. Once per turn, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls. This card loses exactly 1000 attack, and if it does, send that target to the graveyard. Darklord Desire's name is an allusion to another of the 7 deadly sins, greed. The greed sin is to have an excessive pursuit of material goods. In the Bible it states, let your conduct be without covetousness, be content with such things as you have, for he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. The cure for greed is charity, the act of helping others with what you have as opposed to storing up all your worldly possessions for yourself. Darklord Ixchel, known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel Ixtam. Her effect is you can discard this card and 1 Darklord card, draw 2 cards. Quick effect, you can pay 1000 life points, then target 1 Darklord spell or trap in your graveyard, apply that target's effect, then shuffle that target into the deck. You can only use each effect of Darklord Ixchel once per turn. You can only special summon one Darklord Ixchel's once per turn. She is based on a Mayan goddess known as Ix-Ab, or more commonly referred to as the Rope Woman. She was the god of suicide, specifically, as her name suggests, of hanging. So while her Japanese name of Ixtam is based on the Rope Goddess, her English name of Ixchel seems to be based on the Jaguar Goddess of the same name. So she seems to be based on two different Mayan goddesses. Darklord Morningstar, known in Japanese as Fallen Angel Lucifer. Cannot be special summoned. If this card is tribute summoned, you can special summon Darklord monsters from your hand and or deck up to the number of effect monsters your opponent controls. While you control another Darklord monster, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Once per turn, you can send cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard equal to the number of Darklord monsters on the field, and if you do, gain 500 life points for each Darklord card sent to the graveyard by this effect. The highest leveled of the Darklords, Darklord Morningstar is the second one of the archetypes to take inspiration from the devil himself, as his English name is based on the meaning of the name Lucifer, which comes from Morning Star or Bringer of Dawn, which references the planet Venus. His Japanese name is much more to the point than, let's say, Nurse Reficule, who her name backwards was Lucifer. This monster, well, it just simply spells it out. Now you need to keep in mind that Lucifer was an angel before being cast out of heaven. The same goes for Darklord Morningstar as well, as we can see him actually rebelling against the god of the Yu-Gi-Oh card Solemn, making it clear that this rebellion failed, and he and the rest of the Darklords were all banished for this crime. Condemned Darklord, known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel of Paradise Lost. Requires 2 fairy monsters. You can tribute summon fairy monsters that require 2 tributes by banishing 2 monsters from your graveyard instead of tributing. It is still treated as a tribute summon. You can discard 1 card, take 1 Darklord monster from your deck, and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. You can only use the effect of Condemned Darklord once per turn. Once per turn during your end phase, gain 500 life points for each fairy monster you control. The first, and currently only Link monster of the archetype, this monster herself could have her very own video, as she is the angel from the Forbidden cards. After going against the word of Solemn and using all the Forbidden spell cards, she was cast out as another fallen angel. We can actually see her acts as they progress. For example, she was in Forbidden Lance, Forbidden Chalice, Forbidden Dress, and Forbidden Scripture. Her punishment is then shown in Solemn Scolding. Her fate is then revealed in Condemned Maiden. Her slipping into more of darkness is then shown in Condemned Witch, with her possible revenge being shown in Witch's Strike, and then finally her rise to power in Condemned Darklord. It is actually alluded to that she was able to defeat the Solemn god, and the reason why that she may have been able to defeat the deity is that he grew weaker after each of his betrayals, since they cost life points each time. He warned her, he scolded her, he striked her, and finally he judged her. However, after all this, she came back in Witch's Strike and struck him down. Banishment of the Darklords, known in the Japanese as Banishing of the Fallen Angels. Add 1 Darklord card from your deck to your hand, except Banishment of the Darklords. You can only activate 1 Banishment of the Darklords per turn. Darklord Contact, known in the Japanese as Ordination Platform of the Fallen Angels. Special summon 1 Darklord monster from your graveyard in defense position. You can only activate 1 Darklord Contact per turn. Darklord Descent, known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel Descent. Pay half your life points, special summon up to 2 Darklord monsters from your graveyard in defense position, with the same level as 1 face-up monster your opponent controls. Darklord Enchantments, known in Japanese as Fallen Angel of Temptation. Send 1 Darklord monster from your hand or face-up on the field to the graveyard. Take control of 1 face-up monster your opponent controls until the end phase. You can activate 1 Darklord enchantment per turn. Darklord Rebellion, known in Japanese as Fallen Angels Falling from Grace. Send 1 Darklord monster from your hand or face-up from your field to the graveyard. Destroy 1 card on the field. You can activate 1 Darklord Rebellion per turn. The Sanctified Darklord, known in the Japanese as Fallen Angel of Godhood. Send 1 Darklord monster from your hand or face up from your field to the graveyard. Negate the effects of 1 effect monster on the field until the end of the turn. And if you do, gain life points equal to its attack. You can only activate 1 The Sanctified Darklord per turn. With that, guys, that is the Darklord archetype done. Do you think we'll be getting more? Because we didn't actually cover all 7 of the deadly sins in this archetype. So it makes me think maybe we'll get more. But guys, it's time to give a shout out to all my Patreon supporters. Thank you first to my Platinum Patreons, yugioh97 and J24092. Guys, thank you very much. As well to my Gold backers, Chowderman36, Silver Defender, David Shanahan, Shogun, Goosey Q, Genetically Engineered Panda, Matthew Braithwaite, and Chung Ming Zen, Shinjo CB, James Forge, you do. Thank you very much, guys. You're all helping to keep this channel going, and I hope this is enough to say thank you. So thank you very much, and I'll catch you all later. Goodbye, everyone.